Aside from the natural elements like the weather and the temperature, or lack thereof, the lack of elements like water, one of the primary ways people die in off-grid situations is infection. So we have to be really careful, and this is why I'm going to give you 7 ways an infection can take you out in this situation. Just a reminder, this isn't medical advice. It's just a look at how we can handle these situations. It's for informational purposes. So the primary way of getting an infection is from drinking contaminated water. There are many examples of people who've gone traveling and in off-grid situations too. And for example, I know of a guy who was on he was overseas for some kind of work, and he had, I guess he was in a survival situation. He drank some like pond water or something like that. He got incredibly sick, of course. I know a friend of mine who drank from a well, which was supposedly clean, and it wasn't. And so I think he had to get the paramedics. It was, these are very detrimental effects of drinking impure water. So many close calls as well in situations where the water was potentially bad, and the only thing, the thing that saved these people and even prevented them from getting sick in the first place were proper water filters. So when you're traveling or in a grid down situation, you have to make sure that you aren't drinking questionable water, untreated water. Or you're going to deal with all kinds of parasites and illness. So it's especially important to keep an eye on your kids if you have any. They're the first ones usually to grab a drink without asking about it. Moving on to the second way you might get a parasite and end up very sick is eating contaminated food. Meat that has been or that hasn't been cooked or has been sitting out in the sun is just plain dangerous. If it's been out, has been out of the cooler for a while, it doesn't have to be under the sun. So in a grid down situation, you definitely want multiple ways to cook your food thoroughly. I know someone who keeps propane and butane stoves with them all the time, along with a solar oven, just to make sure they can always get a meal to the right temperature. You don't want to be messing around with raw or uncooked meat unless it's designed to be eaten that way, like certain kinds of jerky or dried, which is dried meat, pemmican, or deli meats. Now, unfortunately, when things get tough, though, people who aren't prepared with food storage, like number 10 cans and canned meat, survival pouches, they can get desperate. They might get desperate and take risks that ultimately give them less than what they started with. So don't let that person be you or your family. Stay prepared so you aren't forced into a bad situation where you're not sure if you should eat it or should you not. The third reason is poor sanitization and contact with fecal matter. So if the grid goes down, you've got to have supplies in your bug-out bag like wipes and skin and surface sanitizer and soap to keep yourself and your utilities clean. So taking care of your basic hygiene keeps the dirty and gross problems from turning into serious medical emergencies. Number 4 is eating unwashed fruits and vegetables. Now, it's easy to think that if the grid goes down, you've got bigger problems to worry about than washing your produce, but that's exactly what you should be careful about. You can easily pick up a parasite from lettuce or your fruits, and these things that you normally eat raw, right? And it can potentially make you ill. And if you skip that step, well, I mean, especially with a parasite, it can, grow and multiply and become a very big issue. So don't take that risk. The fifth way is walking around without proper shoes. Just without shoes at all. Some people do this, especially in warmer countries. People just walk around without shoes, and in unsanitary places, your skin is coming in direct contact with parasites all the time. There have been cases where people are traveling overseas, didn't have the right shoes, and they ended up very sick from that. Of course, and in worst cases, you get a flesh-eating disease somewhere. So that's more if you're traveling, but that's a whole nother topic of how to stay safe when you're traveling. But if you're just in the States or Canada, somewhere in Europe, somewhere clean, then you're probably not walking without your shoes anyway, because it's too cold. Or it's just not something you do. If you're using a communal shower or you're somewhere generally dirty, you've got to wear at least sandals or flip-flops. Right? If you're too or slip-on shoes if you're too lazy to tie your shoes all the time. It's a simple move and it keeps you really safe, especially in a survival situation. The sixth problem is bug bites. Whether it's a mosquito or some other insect, those bites can definitely give you some bad effects. And while it might not happen constantly in a first world country, it's still a real threat that you need to be ready for. So having a way to protect your skin is very important. I mean, with those mosquitoes, the malaria is so bad in certain countries like India and other places, Africa. Those can be deadly if you haven't built up an immune system for that. The people there they can get bitten without getting malaria at all, or they get it, but it's very mild. But you can die from that if your body's not used to it. Now, number 7 is person-to-person transmission. When someone isn't washing their hands and keeping up with their hygiene, things can spread pretty fast. So it's especially, for example, common with kids. Someone I know is always catching their kids not washing up before they eat lunch or before they eat dinner. So that kind of contact is a direct way to pick up a parasite. And besides being obsessive about talking about cleanliness, some key ingredients that you need, often found in compounds, are ivermectin and mebendazole. So if someone ends up with a parasite from walking barefoot or from bad food in particular, a combination like this is going to help them get better instead of just withering away without it. It's also highly recommended to have a variety of broad spectrum antibiotics like amoxicillin, clavulanate, I guess it's pronounced, or doxycycline. And this way you can ensure that your whole family is protected from bacterial infections and similar things like that. And now, if you're looking to secure some of these kits, if you're in America, the top choice is Ozio Medical or Jace Medical. They handle the online physician consultation and ship these specific emergency antibiotic and antiparasitic Jace cases right next to your door. So you can do everything online. And if you're in Canada, then you'll have to just go with Jace Medical, because they now ship to Canada through partnerships like Canadian Preparedness or Prepare Medical. So these services are specifically tailored to navigate Canadian regulations. And so this provides a legal way to have a backup supply of life-saving prescriptions or emergencies. If you're looking to pick up survival meds, it's a pretty straightforward process. You just head to the site and fill out an online form. A doctor reviews your info right there, And that way you don't have to bother going to a physical clinic or even leaving the house. So this is a very big benefit. And it only takes a few minutes to get through. So it's a smart move to handle this now, because these medications are going to be incredibly hard to find if the grid goes down. You won't be able to just stroll into a pharmacy, which is why having a backup supply for your family is crucial. Now, lastly, one of the most amazing antibiotics all of us should have with us that doesn't require a prescription or any background information is Manuka honey. It's a supplement. You can get this at any supplement nutrition store. Not so much the Popeyes protein stores, right? But the health food stores that sell all sorts of natural supplements like vitamins and things. These are not typical pharmacies, but some pharmacies probably would carry this. A lot of conventional pharmacies, they don't have those special holistic healing medications or medicines, but a lot of places do carry Manuka honey. Not only is it completely natural, but from my experience with a couple of tattoo infections, it's more effective than polysporin or prescription antibiotic ointments. So this stuff starts working on an infection in a matter of hours, and it can eliminate it in, within 2 or 3 days. So it's incredibly effective. It's also used to kill H. pylori and other harmful gut bacteria when you take it orally. So for wound infections, the one effective protocol is to coat the wound, and you wrap it, and then you let it work on the infected area until the wrapping becomes kind of stale, until your wrapping gets sweaty or you need to change it. And then what you do is you change your wrapper and you put on a new layer of Manuka honey,